You know, we called this guy yesterday to try to get him on. Really nice fellow. And he's like, he's a lawyer. He goes, I want Alex, he told the producer, before I come on, because I've been on other shows and they attack me, I want him to read the law. Because there's no law that I even violated in the truancy. I'm the parent, plus it wasn't even enough days. You can't, and of course I went and read the Virginia statute. He's right. And he's like, how are they bringing us into court, setting the court date, all this, indicting us basically for this when it's not a law? Welcome to family court. Welcome to the kangaroo courts. Look how they were set up. They're only 100 or so years old. And I was telling him that during the break. He was like, really, really? And he's a lawyer. Because they don't teach this stuff in law school. All the constitutional lawyers I've had on, Ron Paul, they know. And when you get to the core of eugenics, that's what all this comes out of. So it doesn't matter if there's not a law. Because they're going to operate as if, oh, well, then this shows some type of bad parenting. Then there could try to be a ruling. I'm not saying they're going this direction, that you're endangering the child. It's the welfare, and they twist that welfare clause in the Constitution into that. But really, they're just family hygiene courts. That's what they were set up for, the health department, all of it, eugenics. Here's the headline. We're going to our guest. Judge sets trial date in school tardiness case. And he sent me the being late to class that they combine and call truancy. He sent me the Virginia Code, and I've read it, scanned over it, 22.1-254, Virginia State, and they are going ahead. They are charged under the state's compulsory education law, which says parents have to send their kids to school for the same number of days and hours per day as school in session. That's taken out of context. You got to read the full document. And he joins us now. Another statute clearly spells out how school systems must proceed in the case of chronic absences when there is no indication that the pupil's parent is aware of and supports the pupil's absence. Neither statute specifically addresses tardiness. That's right. But I've seen them, and we're going to our guest, with the absent assistance, the student absence assistance program, ASAP. This was all over the news at the time, like 12 years ago. Austinites saw it, listening on 90.1 or KLBJ on 590. If you go back, then parents were calling. It happened to my cameraman, Mike Hansen. His son had the flu, 13 years old. Mike's at work working for me, and the police are at his house. His son's 13 at home. His wife worked for the county. She can't come home. It was actually the county that sent him out, the same office. She worked in planning. They can't go home. He has to leave my office and go there, and there's constables there. And they're going, well, it doesn't matter if you even called. This is the third time he's been sick in this semester, and we're just here to give you this summons. And then we found out it was people that were late to class. They'd combine three, call them into a courtroom, and on the news it was a portable building. Call them into a courtroom in a portable building, Judge Dean Muir on local CBS, and she'd say, sign this document or you're going to juvie right now. And the parents would shake and sign it. Well, they hadn't done anything. They were having them sign on to basically probation, deferred adjudication, that if any other problems, now she had them. Through fraud. Just like there's no law to take vaccines and they lie. Okay, enough of me ranting. I wanted to set the table with some of that and give him the floor to break this down. But judge sets trial date in school tardiness case, Washington Post. And joining us is Mark Denicore, lawyer. Full-blown trial, and I've got the tardiness list here. It's late to class. I mean, my goodness, my children are homeschooled, but twice a week they go to a homeschooling group, and I mean, they get late sometimes. And here it shows they were a couple minutes late here. Wow, this is just purely evil here. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. Just amazing what's happening here.
Thanks for having me on.
What do you think of that little rant you just heard?
Well, my issue is somewhat more narrow than that, but I agree with some of the things that you said.
Well, tell us about your case here, because now, murderers and people, they've got to wait to have their trial because you're having a trial over your daughter being late to class.
Well, I have 3 elementary school kids that go to elementary school in Loudoun County, Virginia, and this past Monday, we were summoned. my wife and I were summoned to appear in the juvenile and domestic relation court in Loudoun County to respond to misdemeanor charges, class 3 misdemeanor charges, because our kids, they say, were excessively tardy to school. So those kind of charges, the maximum fine is $500 per child per defendant. So we are facing a $3,000 maximum fine if we're convicted of this supposed crime.
And what they do here in Texas is they combine the tardies and then say that they're a truancy. In the code, they had to stop doing it, at least when we were exposing it for a while, because it did come out it was illegal. And obviously this is a revenue-generating system. I've got their letters to you. I've got the summons. I've got the code here for people watching on the internet, not just listening. But go over now why you're clearly saying that the law doesn't even apply here.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, with regard to the tardies, I just wanted to touch on that. My wife and I are admittedly not perfect, and our children aren't perfect, and we are trying to do our best to comply with the school's desire
to get them into the government training prison. I understand that, but I mean, again, these are your children. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, and I understand that, but I do appreciate the fact that the school has a train it's trying to send out of the train station, so it wants everybody in the train station so they can commence
brainwashing.
Brainwashing. So we're trying our best to comply, but we are admittedly imperfect, and we've had some difficulties. But as you see from the information I sent you, in the majority of these cases, or in a third of the cases, the amount of tardiness is less than 1 minute, and in all of the cases with the exception of 2, the tardiness is less than 5 minutes. So it's a very de minimis problem. But I just wanted to touch on that because there are a lot of people that have given me a lot of advice lately about why can't you just get up 10 minutes early, most people that have children recognize that
some mornings they refuse to put the shoes on. Some mornings the car doesn't start. Some mornings there's an 18-wheeler turned over on the road.
Yeah, and all of those things impact us. And what we're trying to do is, in our family, is teach personal responsibility.
Yeah, but the state has never done this to parents. Sir, there's cases where if children don't do their homework, parents are being criminally charged. They're calling it tardiness, not finishing the work. The schools are trying to take over the parents. I've seen court cases where schools say that they're the guardians. I mean, this is out of control.
No, I tend to agree with you on that point because we do feel like the school has an attitude that when we drop off our kids at school, that when they step over that threshold, that they're no longer our kids, and we don't share that view. We think they're our kids for the entire day, no matter where they are, and that we're ultimately the parents and ultimately responsible for them. But
well, you can pull your children out of the school if you want. So the point is, they're not truant when you've got them out. But as you point out in the news, and even the Washington Post has to admit, the code is saying tardiness is not truancy.
Well, that's right. The Virginia Code is pretty clear. What they're trying to do in the Virginia Code is address truancy and absences without the parent's knowledge. And there's a process when a child is absent from school, not tardy, but not reporting to school at all. If they're absent from school a number of days, then certain things start to happen, and then the school can start to get involved, and eventually they can get the courts involved. And I can see, an extreme case where that might be, where the courts may need to get involved. But certainly in our situation, that's not the case. You can't find anywhere in the Virginia statutes where they talk about tardy or late. And what the school system is doing here is they're trying to, cobble together something to intimidate parents or bully parents into complying with their tardiness policy.
Well, I mean, let's just stop right there. It's a policy that they want them to take shots, not the law, but they lie to you and tell you it is. Then they'll kick your child out and for not having shots and then charge you with the truancy. They do that fraud, too. They're involved in fraud. The court is involved in fraud. This is judicial tyranny. And here you are, like every other good American, apologizing about yourself all day. How about we don't trust the government like George Washington said? How about we start getting disgusted with them? How about some of them go to jail for falsely charging you? There's all sorts of criminal things involved here. I know they're the watchers. Who watches the watchers? But, you know, the last people we need telling us how to run our lives is the government.
Well, I just don't want people to think that I'm thumbing my nose at the teachers that want to have a productive and class and one that's not disruptive.
And push Prozac and Ritalin on the kids. No, I understand. Have you heard how they arrest 5-year-olds for running in the playground? Does the playground at your little public prison, indoctrination center, do they let your children jog at the playground?
Yes, I believe they do.
Oh, so you're allowed to walk in the yard. Okay. So it's not a supermax. It's okay. Got it. I'm saying they are prisons. They mean them to be prisons. They're gonna, and your little daughter, I bet she's glad that you guys are going to court now. I guess now if she didn't get her shoes on quick enough or, pipes burst or whatever's keeping you from, being late to the government training camp, the re-education center, that you should tell her, Mommy and Daddy are going to prison if you don't hurry.
Well, it is creating a lot of stress in the family. It's creating stress for the kids, and it's creating stress for my wife.
Well, they're just being taught how to go to jail. We have the biggest prison population in the world. They're being prepped for that. That's what the TSA is all about, prepping us to have our rights violated. But sir, specifically, what are you going to do? You've been the court. Tell us where you are in the case. It's going forward now, even though it's not in the law.
That's right. Well, we had our arraignment on Monday. My wife and I were arraigned and charged. And now they've set a trial date for March 14th, so we have to...
and you're charged with truancy.
Well, we're charged with a Class 3 misdemeanor. I don't know if I have the paperwork. Here it is.
Well, don't plea bargain and get the jury up there and show them that the law doesn't say that. Now, the judge may try to stop you from actually reading the law. They do that a lot. They're like, whoa, we don't, laws aren't here. It's about my black robes and robbing people.
Well, I don't know. I hope we get a fair shake in this court. But we were charged against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
The peace and yeah. So you're involved in a disorderly insurrection. They're just saying you're a disreputable scum, and of course that's the wider thing they would use. Yes.
So we plan on moving to dismiss on the grounds that there is no law against dropping off your kids late to school, and I hope we prevail on that point.
But what about the prosecutor? Have you talked to this dimwit and explained that, hey, why are you doing this?
They haven't assigned a prosecutor yet, but I'm hopeful that when they do assign one, that I can talk to them and hopefully talk some sense into. Yeah,
but just so you know, I don't know about Virginia, but I look at most states. They're doing this everywhere, sir. They're taking people's children who were late 3 times to class in Texas, and there is no law.
Well, we're not the only case in Loudoun County either. There's a whole group of us that are kind of in process, and we're kind of the number 2 case. The number 1 case is a woman who is a single mother with 3 children who was treated much more harshly. She officer came to her door and arrested her, put her in handcuffs, and put her in a cop car, and took her down to the adult detention center and put a $3,000.
Oh, and the CPS got to grab the kids.
What's that?
What happened to the children?
I think she was able to find somebody to watch the
kids.
Oh,
how gracious of that. Again, this is an excuse to kidnap us, get normal people into their military-industrial prison complex. We have the biggest prison population in the world. It's a joke, and that cop needs to be fired, and they all need to go to jail for false arrest. Hey, listen, when you prove that wasn't in the law, that cop needs to go to jail, and so does all those other people. I'm sick of them. And, we need to get angry here, sir. We need to get angry. This is happening to you. It's happening to all of us, these scum. Mark Denicore, as this develops, we'd like to talk to you again. Is there any way we can help you out, or just let the court know, or what do we do?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, I've done a lot of interviews. I think I'm reaching the point of diminishing returns. We've gotten the message out.
I tell you what, stay there.